Hello, welcome to Vest Top 5. Today we're talking about the top 5 movies that are based off of TV shows. TV shows are extremely popular now. Everyone's watching a show, whether it's on TV or on a streaming platform, or maybe you're watching it on the low by not paying, or maybe you're sharing with someone else's subscription. I know I'm not. TV shows are popular, and they've always been. It's not just now. Even in the 70s and 80s, there were so many popular shows that were later turned into movies. Some sooner rather than later. So let's start with the list with number 5. Number 5 is The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone was a very popular show in the 1960s. Actually, it wasn't that popular in the 60s. It became popular later on in the 70s when it got re-released on TV. And eventually got a revival in the 80s and again in 2004, and we're seeing another revival now in 2019 with Jordan Peele as the host. While the other adaptations from the TV shows were not bad, they're not as good as the movie, Twilight Zone the movie, which was produced by Steven Spielberg, and it has some segments that were remade from earlier episodes from the 60s. I really like this movie. It pays good homage to those episodes, and it stands pretty well on its own. Now, this movie is not without its tragedies. One of the main actors from the film, Vic Morrow, passed away while shooting this film, and it actually changed a lot of the laws that occurs during filming. Basically, he was killed by a pyrotechnic explosion that made the helicopter go out of control and it decapitated him. Very tragic, but the movie's very good, and it's one of those adaptations that it's very faithful to the show and it still stands on its own. Number 4, The Equalizer. The Equalizer was a pretty popular show in the 80s. I actually haven't seen an episode of the TV show. I actually want to watch it, and maybe I'll review it sometime in the future. I ended up hearing first about the show in the movie Wolf of Wall Street, where a character is watching the show and he doesn't want to miss the episode. And it finally got an adaptation into a movie in 2014 starring Denzel Washington. I really enjoyed the movie. Sure, it's very predictable and it could have been shorter, but it's a pretty entertaining action movie and pretty realistic. And of course, Denzel does his thing, and I love his interpretation of the character. I've seen clips of how the original actor played it, and in comparison with Denzel Washington, what I like is that he makes the character his own, at the same time still paying some homage to the original show, because it's basically a guy who helps people. He used to be like an ex-military guy, so he knows a lot about like combat skills. It's a pretty good movie, and it got a sequel that was released last year. Both of them are really good. Check them out. I think they're worthy of watching and owning, and it's a great adaptation from the show. Number 3 is 21 Jump Street. I actually have seen episodes from the show, and I never really liked the show that much. It's very drama, like teen drama kind of thing, and it had Johnny Depp. It was one of Johnny Depp's first gigs. The remake is so clever that it's completely different to the show. The show is more drama-like, and the movie is just full-out comedy. And you also have a cameo, spoilers, of Johnny Depp in the film, in the first movie, 922 Jump Street. It'd be great if they do a 23 or 24 Jump Street, who knows. But that movie is so different from the show, and at the same time paying homage to it. Check it out. It is available anywhere. I've always seen this movie lying around, and even in thrift stores. But it's actually good. Number 2 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have a hard time pronouncing that. That's like a tongue twister kind of word, so you know what I said, TNMNT. Everyone knows the show. Great little cartoon from the 90s. I grew up watching the show. I used to have the action figures. I've seen a couple episodes recently, it still holds up. I refuse to watch the Michael Bay produced remakes, but the original movie that was released in the 90s is still very, very good. I like it, you know? I would say even the second one's pretty good. We don't talk about part 3. Part 3 is pretty bad. Like, you can watch the cartoon and go straight into the movie and it's perfect. Even though it's technically very much a remake of that story, it's just great because it hits all the notes of the show, and then there's a couple of things that are different. You know, I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. Check it out. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if you haven't seen it. If you're a younger kid who hasn't seen it, check out both the cartoon and the movie. Number 1 is The Fugitive. This was a show in the 60s that was extremely popular. Everyone wanted to see what happened to Dr. Richard Kimball. Was he innocent? Was he guilty? Who committed the crime? It's a very, very good show. But then in the 90s, we got a remake directed by Andrew Davis, known for directing Under Siege. Believe it or not, Harrison Ford saw Under Siege, and he said, yes, I want this guy to direct The Fugitive. And he chose wisely because The Fugitive ended up becoming an Academy Award-winning film and the most popular film of that year, which I believe was 1993. The movie would go on to get a lot of like parodies with Wrongfully Accused, and yeah, like by now everyone makes fun of that scene, like, it wasn't me, it was a one-armed man. You find this man, you find him. I didn't do it. The Fugitive is a good movie. It's basically Harrison Ford plays Dr. Richard Kimball. His wife gets killed, but they accuse him, so he has to find out who killed his wife, and he's on the run. And there's a really good sequence that still looks very good for its age, done with practical effects and miniatures. This big scene involving the train. I don't want to tell you the details, but it's very good. So yeah, check it out. Those are the top 5 movies that were based off of TV shows. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this video with all your friends, do all those great things. Leave me your comments, suggestions, your insults, whatever it is. Just leave it down in the comment section down below. I'll make sure to respond, or maybe I'll ignore. You never know. Anyway, guys, until next time, bye.